Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time to join us. My name is Richard Bravo, and I'm the Business Development Manager with AmaWaterways, and I'm here today with Don from Dream Vacations. So, Don, I'll turn it over to you for just a moment. Want to share anything with your guests?
Okay, Richard, thank you. Yes, I'd like to welcome everybody in, and I just want to remind everybody that it's okay to keep dreaming about travel. We're going to get back to it. It's going to happen soon, we hope. But don't ever lose that dream of getting back out in the world and seeing all the wonderful things that we're going to take a look at today. And I really appreciate you joining us for what's going to be a series of 4 cruising the rivers of the world. And today we're going to be exploring the journey of the river cruising, mostly in Europe, just to talk about that today. So I appreciate all our Dream Vacation fans coming in to join us, and looking forward to some exciting information from Richard. There you go, Rich, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Don. So with so much going on, and we know a lot of folks are probably, I guess the right phrase would be zoomed out, but I want to thank you for taking time to join us today. And really, we want to keep this informative. Hopefully it's educational, but more than anything, inspirational. As Don mentioned, it's okay to dream of travel. We're going to get to that day when we can get out there once again, and restrictions will start being loosened, and we'll be able to get back out and resume some things that we've been waiting for. So hopefully you'll get some great ideas today. Don, again, thank you for some time with your guest. I'm going to start by sharing that on the right side of your screen, there's a pop-up box, and it's got a few different categories in there. One of those is questions. So if you have any questions, please click on the drop-down arrow, enter those questions there at the end of the presentation. If we haven't answered those during the course of the presentation, we'll certainly look to address those afterwards. The other thing that I'll mention is that this is a recorded session. So Don will actually have this that he can send out to you afterwards. If there's anybody else that you'd like to share it with, you'll have that opportunity to share it with them as well too. So moving right through to the next slide, I want to share just a little bit about the history of our company, because it really plays an important role, not just with our company, but with river cruising in general. And this is a look at our owners. This is Rudesheim, his beautiful wife, Christine Karst, and there's Gary Murphy, and it was actually Gary Murphy's late father, a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Murphy, who was one of the original co-owners when our company was set up 18 years ago as of July 1st last month. So I'm very proud of that time that we've been around. But Rudesheim was actually with another river cruise competitor called Uniworld River Cruises. And actually at that time, they were just called Uniworld, and they were running tours throughout Yugoslavia. This was back in 1992, or 93 if I'm correct. And it was that same year that they actually dredged and completed the Main-Danube Canal. So this now opened up opportunities to sail from the North Sea all the way down to the Black Sea. And Rudy, who's from Vienna originally, he grew up on the river. He realized that this was an opportunity, so he got Uniworld to start building out that product. He was then asked to join Viking River Cruises as their first president. He was with them for a period of time before, along with Christine and then Jimmy Murphy, starting AmaWaterways. So I think that history is important to know. He's been dubbed the Godfather of river cruising. That being one of the reasons. The other reason is that he's an architect by trade. So he's designed all the ships that we own on the waters today. In fact, we're designing 3 new ships to come out next year. I'll share just a bit about those also. And not to belabor this, but I just thought that was some important information to kind of be aware of. River cruising, if you've never river cruised before, it's a really special way to river cruise. I've done a number of different types of travel, from land group travel to ocean cruising to just normal dry vacations. I love them all. They're special for a number of reasons. When it comes to cruising, though, I will be honest, I'm partial to river cruising just because I love the intimacy of river cruising. I love that you're sailing on calm waters. You don't got to worry about getting seasick. And again, I love ocean cruising. I've probably done about 12 ocean cruises in my life with a number of different partners, and I'll do that experience a number of times again. But again, this is much more intimate. This picture, I think, depicts it perfectly. You're going to have land on both sides at all time, and we're sailing to and through the destination. We're not creating our ships to really be that destination. It is your luxury floating hotel, great service on board, amazing food on board. The perspective as you're cruising through these towns from the water, passing these vineyards and castles and storybook little villages. It's just an amazing way to witness it. And then pulling up in a town where in some cases you literally step right off onto those cobblestone streets and you're like an 8-minute walk from the cathedral in town. So that's just a really amazing experience that if you haven't thought of it, hopefully you'll put this on your list. I do want to hop over for just a moment to share a short little video, if I can find this right now. And I'm going to play this. This is actually a look at our Rhine River. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Rhine also, but I'm going to share this and then I'll hop back in just a minute, but it'll give you a really good idea what that onboard experience is like.
Imagine yourself turning the pages of your very own fairy tale as you glide past the fabled landscapes along Europe's Rhine and Moselle rivers. With AmaWaterways, hike storied hills to romantic castles and charming villages. Taste the sweet nectar from Germany's Rheingau wine region. Pedal through the historic vineyards of the Moselle River Valley. Toast with Kolsch beer in Cologne. Immerse yourself in the colorful Alsace region of France, visiting beautiful Stroudsburg and enchanting Requivier. Be inspired by stunning castles clinging to the edges of riverbanks as you cruise through the breathtaking Rhine Gorge. And wake up each morning to a new city or castle around the bend. It's all waiting for you on an unforgettable Rhine and Moselle river cruise with AmaWaterways.
So I hope that gives you a really good idea of what that overall experience is like. And again, hopefully that inspires you a little bit. Don, I don't know, I think we talked about this, Don, but you've taken an AmaWaterways cruise, have you not?
Oh, I've been on about 10 river cruises in the last few years.
Love it, love it.
And we just did the Rhine, Amsterdam to Basel Christmas markets in December.
That's right.
So it's amazing, amazing.
That's right. So I love that you mentioned the Christmas markets too. There's so many different options, not just the different countries and rivers and just all the different cultures and history that you're passing through, but we'll add some themes to some of these as well. The Christmas markets being a really special one. I'll talk just a little bit about that at the end. Celebration of wine themed departures. These are ones where we bring on an American wine host who's maybe a wine owner or a wine maker to really lead these special events on board. And those are set up being, what I'm trying to say is that, you know, those are in addition to everything that we would offer on a normal cruise. But in terms of what makes these really special, there's a lot of things, but I personally think it really is our crew on board. So that's why I want to have this picture up right now. They're the ones engaging with you, from the hotel manager, of course, the cruise manager, the servers in the restaurant, the people behind the scenes that are, you know, maybe just keeping everything clean, making up your room every day, you know, handling that room service and things, and making sure that your shore excursions go off without a hitch also. So they really go above and beyond what you would expect from a luxury river cruise line. You know, listening to all those details, I have a friend, I love to share this story, Don, I think you know Janice, she always tells a story that she had heard of white asparagus. So there was some conversation going about white asparagus over dinner that was overheard by one of the servers. Nothing much mentioned about it, but the next day, white asparagus appears on her plate. So little things like that, that they really take the time to tune into it and make it extra special for you. The cruise managers, I did make reference to them a minute ago, and here's a look at some of the cruise managers that were on a special cruise just last year, as a matter of fact. And the reason I really want to call them out is because they are, I think they're extra unique in the industry. One thing that makes them really special is that all of our cruise managers will join our guests before or after the cruise if they're doing a pre or post trip. That is something that's unique to AmaWaterways. So they're there to make you know, recommendations, make suggestions, give you just some different tips when you're visiting town. They're leading you on some different shore excursions also, but there's something about that trust that they're already establishing before you even made your way on board the ship. Then of course you enjoy that time there, and then they're there to stay with you a little bit longer after the trip. But once you've left after that post trip, the ship that you all just got off has already set sail. So what we'll do is we'll send them off to board another ship, maybe another river with a whole new crew, different stops along the way, another pre and post extension with some new guests on board. So all that just to say they're extremely knowledgeable because they're being exposed to so much of our different products and destinations that we're traveling to. I also hear a number of stories from people that say, you know, we love that trip so much, we want to go next year on a group, but we don't want to go unless we know that we can have Maddie as our cruise manager. We request those, we receive those so frequently that there's a gentleman, in fact, there's a gentleman here in the green sweater, his name is Wade. We send those type of requests to him, and then he does his very best when he's setting their schedule to line those sort of group requests, just again, to make it extra special for those people that are putting those requests through. So very big part of our the experience on board. In terms of the accommodations, this right here is a look at our twin balcony staterooms. Remember that I did mention Rudy was actually an architect by trade, so we were the first ones to design these twin balcony staterooms. Since then, I think there's a few other folks that have kind of followed suit. But what makes these extra special is that you get both the French balcony, which you see to the right here, this nice little sitting area inside. The window is pressed all the way up to the railing, so even from inside the room, you get great views looking outside. And then you have that full step-out balcony. So in optimal weather, you can hang out there, have some wine in the evening, some coffee in the morning, but you have the comfort of the inside stateroom too, setting that temperature to whatever you like. The technology, you'll see the computers in this room here, complimentary Wi-Fi, not only in the stateroom, but throughout the entire ship. You can leave your laptop at home, use the Apple computers that we have in the stateroom. And since I'm talking about technology, I'll mention that there's a really wonderful app that you can download once you book with us. You just enter your name, the booking number, then you can enter the email addresses of family and friends. So as you're traveling, so let's say that Don is traveling and let's see, he's doing the Douro River and he's now arrived into let's say he's doing a post trip into Barcelona. It'll say Don has arrived in Barcelona. Here's some of the highlights that he'll be able to enjoy this day. Don is posting some pictures throughout the trip. It's going to push those notifications out to those family and friends that he's listed. So not just a great way to kind of share the experience and stay engaged, but to let everybody know that you're safe and that you're, again, just enjoying your time on the trip. This next one to come up here. This next slide coming up is a look at the lounge, and this is the what I always kind of describe as the living room of the ship. It's kind of the main gathering place that people, you know, place where everybody goes to socialize, hang out, get some amazing views. Located at the front of the ship, you got these beautiful Florida ceiling windows throughout the entire front part here. Lots of comfortable seating. It's also that place where if you don't want to go to the main dining room and get something light, maybe grab a croissant, you can come up here, stop at the coffee station. In the evening, it's going to be the place where we bring out a dedicated pianist each evening. He's playing some music, he's taking requests. The cruise manager will be giving some different discussions on the next day's visits, the ports of call, what the shore excursions are going to look like. We'll bring on local entertainment in the evening. So as an example, here in Vienna, we may bring on some classical musicians. When you're in Spitz, Germany, we may bring on some local folklore dancers. And then it's going to turn into a full-blown disco in the evening and pretty much stays open until the last person leaves there. So just a fun gathering place, fun place to meet some other passengers on board.
Now, I will say, Richard, that I get a lot of positive feedback about the coffee machine. I mean, yes. 24/7, any kind of coffee you want. And funny that that's a big thing to a lot of people. That just, it was, and I love it, but it's just funny that those little things, those little touches.
That's exactly it. It's seemingly those little things. I mean, it's a wonderful coffee station, self-serve coffee station, but we get a lot of people just saying, God, I need to bring this home with me because it's just, it's so convenient and it makes really good coffee, really good espressos, really good cappuccino too.
Oh, yeah.
So
very good.
It's funny that you mentioned it. I said that to you as well. The next slide here is a look at our sun deck, and majority of our ships, not every one of our ships, but the majority of all of our ships do have a pool on board. And this isn't something that's common for most river cruise lines. As you look through the window here, you can see that it's a day that they're in port. So they probably already gone out, had some leisurely time. Maybe they joined a shore excursion, come back, they're now enjoying some time in the pool in front of the bar. There's some nice stools inside the pool there. But I wanted to comment on the fact that they probably went out and they're now having this leisurely time on board the ship because we're very, very thoughtful in how we curate every one of our itineraries, literally every detail. I like to share the story that when I first joined AmaWaterways, I had a chance to meet, all the different team members. I met our VP of product development and I walked in as he was having this conversation with one of his team members, and they were probably talking for a bit already and talked for about another 20 minutes when I sat there. but it was about one very specific short moment on this itinerary about how they were going to handle the lunch, and how if they served the lunch at this time, that the guests were probably going to feel a little bit rushed because they were going to go back to their stateroom to start taking some pictures of the scenery, and just a thoughtful conversation about how it was going to impact the guest experience. Every detail is really given a lot of thought. And so when we put these together, if we're visiting a town, it has a lot to see. We're going to spend probably the full day there, stay late into the morning hours, so you'll have a lot of free time. If it's a smaller town that maybe doesn't have a ton of things to visit and see, but there's some core highlights, we're going to take the time to see that, allow you some free time, and then probably push on to the next port of call. The drinks are also going to be included, but it's not all inclusive. So I really want to explain how that works and not be misleading. You're going to have all the premium wines and beers and soft drinks at lunch. You're going to have them at dinner. It's full open bar cocktail before every dinner each evening. If you want champagne mimosas, you can have that in the morning. But notice I use the word premium, because we're not going to serve you those complimentary house wines and then charge you for that more desirable wine that you like to have. We're going to serve you nice wines that are local to all the regions that we're stopping at. So when we're up on the Moselle River, you're going to have those wonderful Moselle Rieslings, those Alsatian Rieslings as you're traveling down through Stroudsburg on the Rhine River. If you're in Bordeaux, you're going to have those wonderful East and West Bank red wines that you want to taste. So you're going to have experience all that, but our servers are very generous. Don, I think you could probably attest to this. If you drink wine, they're there to constantly serve you. If you're not getting it topped off after taking 2 sips, it's probably a pretty busy evening. And I enjoy to have wine, as after dinner. So I'll have them pop it off one more time. I'll take it up to the lounge and enjoy it, meeting some other guests on board as well.
Well, they're like wine ninjas. You turn to talk to somebody, you turn back, and your glass is full again. So it's there's no doubt you're going to have as much as you desire. And I was going to make a comment. That's Martina there on that picture. She was our direct cruise manager on the Danube. Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah,
so the fact that you remember her, I mean, they're quite memorable. They do such a wonderful job. And I'm probably going to steal your phrase there, wine ninja. I think that's perfect.
The wine ninja.
But yeah, this next look right here is a kind of a look at one of our dining experiences. And this is one of 2 restaurants that you'll find on board every ship. We have one very unique ship that I'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation called Alma Magna, but all the other ones will have 2 restaurants. You'll have your main dining room, and then you'll have this dining room, which is a chef's table restaurant. This is a specialty dining. It's an alternative dining experience where you do need to make your reservations once you step on board the ship, but there's no extra cost to this. So the difference between this and the main dining room is that the main dining room is going to be more of a progressive dining experience, meaning that when you're in Budapest, for example, you're going to find goulash on the menu, but you'll still have some of the staple items if you want to have that steak, if you want to have that Caesar salad, but it's going to be kind of progressive with the different places we're stopping. The chef's table restaurant, which is this picture right here, is this wonderful 6-course dining experience. But within those 6 courses, within each course, you're going to get an option. So it's not just a set 6-course meal. There's up to 4 different wine pairings with your meal. Located at the back of the ship, you get those wonderful large windows also. Imagine yourself here at sunset, taking in that sunset as you're getting this wonderful meal, watching the chef and his team prepare the things and plating the food and bringing it out to you. It's my favorite experience on board, honestly, with all the other things that are going on. I'm a foodie, and this, I think, is just done absolutely perfect. The logo down at the bottom right is La Chaîne de Rôtissiers. So if you haven't heard about this, it's the world's oldest, or certainly one of the oldest, culinary society, started back in 1248 in France. It was started by French royalty. It went for about 400 some years up until the French Revolution, and then it stopped for some obvious reasons because there was that relationship to royalty. Picked up again in 1950. But what this means is you can't request to be part of this. You just have to be given that designation, and it speaks to the presentation of the food, the preparation of the food, the locally sourcing of the food. And you can't request this. AmaWaterways is the only river cruise line with that designation. So if you're wondering, what sets AmaWaterways apart from its peers, this happens to be one of a number of things actually that sets us apart. Another thing to keep in mind are the shore excursions. We will include between 4 and 5 shore excursions at every port of call. We're not going to offer you a complimentary city tour and then charge you more for some of those other things that you really may want to do. We're going to break it up into different ones, really give you an option. We have our gentle, regular, and active. The gentle is going to be, as an example, if I were taking my elderly parents who are in their mid to late 70s now, who move just a little bit slower, but they can still get around. But maybe we want to avoid some steps, take in some core highlights, but not move quite as fast. The regular is going to take in just a bit more. Just imagine it being a little bit quicker pace. And then your active is going to be something like the guided cycling tour that we see in the picture off to the left here. Maybe it's a guided hiking tour through the Black Forest. Those are going to be some of the different options, in addition to the fact that we offer late risers. So the late risers is going to be for the person that maybe wants to still make time for breakfast, enjoy a leisurely coffee, and then get a little bit later, more of a mid-morning start. I'm going to be the early riser. I want to get up, grab my coffee, head out as soon as I can, and start seeing things. So again, recognizing that it's your holiday, we're going to give you that option of those different choices there. The question regarding COVID and how we kind of handle our shore excursions is something that comes up, and I'll share a little bit more about COVID-related things later in the presentation. But being on this slide, we're not going to be booking more than between 10 to 15 people in these groups. In fact, we have already started sailing on select sailings on one river cruise ship on the Rhine right now. This, however, is exclusive to the German market. There's a German company that's actually chartered one of our vessels. So we were able to take a number of those things that we've been planning in terms of how we were going to operate when we go back, and now put them into practice for some of our German market customers. And it's gone over very well. We've been doing it now for coming up on 5 weeks. In fact, a number of guests have actually booked to go on a second sailing. And not to spend too much time on this slide, but what I wanted to share is that we set up our guests with something called AudioVox. It's a headset that allows you to be, 40, 50 feet away from your tour guide, so you don't have to be huddled in these small groups also. The next slide coming up is a look at our gym. If you're in active, leading that active, healthy lifestyle, we have a gym on board every one of our vessels. And again, not to mislead you, this is on board our Alma Magna. All the gyms are not quite this large, but you will find all the same equipment on board. We've also got a dedicated fitness instructor on board every one of our sailings. So they're leading morning stretches, they're doing morning Pilates or morning yoga. So again, just a way to stay active. So if you're hitting the gym every day, or if you want to at least get to the gym once or twice a week, this is an option for you. In addition to this, if you want to go and maybe get a massage, we have a masseuse on board. There's a nominal cost for that. There's also a nominal cost if you want to get your hair done, ladies. We have that available as well too. So some of these options that we're providing, where some of our competitors don't even have these as choices for you.
I'll make just a quick comment on. I get a big question about on river cruising. People have an opinion or that it might be slow paced. There's not a lot to do. It's kind of boring. And believe me, as many as I've been on, and many people we've sent on river cruises, when they come back, they say there was so much to do. There's so much activity going on daily and at night. You're not going to be bored on a AmaWaterways river cruise for sure. So.
You will definitely not be bored. In fact, depending how you look at it, it can even be somewhat overwhelming because there's so many choices, with the different shore excursions, and in some cases where, like I mentioned before, staying late into the night in certain cities, there's a choice of, do I want to run around off in town all evening, or do I want to go back and be part of the onboard entertainment? I mean, there's a lot of things for you to choose, so you don't have to conform to what everybody else is doing. There's a lot of different options for you.
Right.
This look right here, this picture, I love it. This is the Alma Magna. Off to the right, of course, and to the left is what would be a typical river cruise ship that probably holds, 170 to 180 guests. One of our competitors, Viking, they have their long ships. They hold up to about 190 guests on board, 193 actually. Alma Magna, which is twice the size, holds 196 guests. So the idea when we were creating this vessel was not to cram it with more staterooms. It was to actually create more public space, more personal space, larger staterooms, more amenities and features on board. So this ship actually has 4 restaurants to choose from on board. There's no additional charge for dining at any one of them. You have a choice. You just make your reservations once you're on board. Much larger sun deck. We've actually got a cinema room on board. There's 2 libraries, a much larger lounge area. So it's an amazing vessel. If you've done ocean cruising, I always tell people this is going to be the one that you want to segue over to experience river cruising if there's been any apprehension, because you're going to feel that it's a bit more spacious. In addition to the regular staterooms, which are somewhere about 275 square feet, the suites go up to maybe about 350 square feet. This one has an owner suite and a grand suite. The owner suite is about 410 square feet, and the grand suite is actually over 700 square feet. So again, if you want to transition to river cruising, this would be the ship to do it on. And it sails exclusively on the Danube, just because it's a bit larger, and it allows us to get through some of those larger locks there. We also know that there's a lot of single travelers. Don could speak to this too. I'm sure he deals with it on a regular basis. And the question is always, is there a single supplement? And while we do charge a single supplement, it's a very fair single supplement. So for somebody booking in one of our category C or D staterooms, which would be entry level, it's just going to be 25% additional. If you're booking one of those twin balcony staterooms that we were looking at, that would be just 50% more. And only in the case of booking into a suite would it be that full 100% more. But we're very aware of the single travelers. We really want them to feel at home. So what we do is the first night we'll set up a cocktail reception so they can meet some of the other folks that are traveling alone. The first evening, we're going to set them up for dinner with our captain, so they get to meet the captain along with the other single guests. And something else that we do is we set up an odd number of seats at all the different tables so that they don't feel at any time that they're going to be disruptive to maybe breaking up, and taking one of the couple seats as well too. So we've really been thoughtful once again in terms of how we set up this experience for single guest travelers. So now kind of getting into some of the different destinations that we'll be traveling to, and believe me, and Don could share this, we could spend the rest of the night talking about all the different places we travel and all the different questions, a number of different rivers, countries that we're traveling through. We've got a few new additions here as well. So I'll start with our more exotic destinations with Egypt. This is the newest one to our portfolio that will officially begin September of next year. We've opened up the space beginning the first part of April, and I can tell you it is the most requested product right now. We're actually 70% sold for next year. Now, starting in September, so it's going to run through the end of next year, beginning in September, but already 70% sold out for the departures. It's a wonderful 7-night round trip sailing from Luxor. It's got some great stops along the way. There's an included pre or post. So this isn't one that you have to pay additional for. We've just included that into the package. 3 pre-nights in Cairo and then a single post night in Cairo. There's an additional optional extension. So this would be an added cost if you want to include that extension over to Abu Simbel. But once you're there traveling that far, if you want to spend a little bit more time in the region, we've got an extension over to Israel. We've also got an extension over to Jordan, or there's another one to the UAE if you want to spend some time there also. So some great options. The Mekong River is another great experience. This wonderful 7-night cruise between Cambodia and Vietnam. But again, it's this great 7-night cruise. You can add on a number of extensions to stretch this all the way out to 16 days, spending some additional time in Bangkok, Thailand. Just again, you can really kind of build this out for traveling that far, really experience all there is to see in the region. We get a lot of guests share that this is one of the most immersive experiences that we offer, meaning we include things like maybe one evening you'll go and dine at one of the local residents' stilted home and get to spend some time visiting them, or go visit a local school where you can take some school supplies, meet the teacher, interact with some of the students. So really great experience. Africa is another wonderful one. This is actually just going to be a short, wonderful 4-night cruise on the Chobe River, this wonderful safari cruise, but you can build that package out all the way to 18 days. You can include a Rwanda gorilla trek. You can spend some additional time down in Johannesburg, do a safari. You can take the old Rogos stream train up to Victoria Falls. So a number of wonderful ways that you can build that package out as well. As Don mentioned, we're going to spend the majority of time talking about Europe, and I got a wonderful example that I'm going to walk through on beginning on the next slides, but majority of our product is within the continent of Europe. And the 2 most popular river cruises, if you're wondering, are going to be the Danube and the Rhine River. So the Danube is the one that winds from the Black Sea, kind of in the lower right, between Romania, Bulgaria, making its way all the way up into Germany. It then connects to the Rhine River, and then if you go a little bit north from there, you've got Amsterdam. So Amsterdam, making its way all the way down to Basel, Switzerland, would be the Rhine River. So those are the 2 most popular ones, and because of that, we've got the most inventory, meaning the most ships on those rivers, the most itineraries with different stops along the way. As you make your way a little bit further west, things get a little bit more intimate in terms of the ship size and general capacity. The rivers are a little bit smaller in some areas. In fact, the Bordeaux area on the Dordogne and Garonne River, this is actually not even sailing through any locks, as you're going to experience on all the other rivers. This is actually tidal water. So depending on what time of day you're traveling through different areas, you can have a 10-foot difference, the different ports that you're visiting too. So it just kind of adds to the overall experience. And then, of course, the Douro River, where we got 2 new ships there, another really popular one. We had our 2nd ship in 2018 because it was so popular. So the one that I want to kind of walk through an example of, though, is our Rhine River. And I chose the captivating Rhine, just again, because it is one of those popular ones. As I mentioned before, we're sailing to and through these different countries. This one, we're going to sail through 4 countries, beginning in the Netherlands, kind of starting at the north end, down through France, Germany, and then ending in Switzerland. And this one offers a wonderful pre-night package in Amsterdam where you can stay an additional 2 nights. This is an amazing city. There are lots to do in this town. One thing that I don't want to forget mentioning is that if you wanted to see a number of the museums and gallery, if you want to make that stop at the Anne Frank House, make your reservations in advance. I would suggest anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, just to be sure that you don't travel that far to be disappointed. So make those plans. I'm sure Don can assist you and give you some direction with that as well. But if you book it with us, the pre-night, again, your cruise manager will be there, be leading some different excursions, but it's just an amazing town to go around and explore. There's like 1,200 some bridges, throughout the area, 90 different islands with the way the canals are carving all these things. The bikes, of course, you've seen in a number of different pictures. That's something kind of special to see. Interesting fact, I just happened to look this up the other day. There are approximately 850,000 bicycles in the city of Amsterdam alone. And I think it's about 800 and several thousand less actual residents in the area. So the bicycles actually outnumber the residents, but a great town to just, again, walk around and explore. The Canal Tour is one option that we're going to be offering for you through the Haarlem Canal, actually, that we'll be sailing through. But what's great with all these type of experiences, even when you're just transferring from the ship to maybe make your way to a site out of town where you're going to join up with a group excursion, going through the canal, and of course on board the ship, you're going to have expert guides with you the entire way. So they're storytelling, they're talking to you about the culture and the history, about the architecture, maybe even local politics with what's happening in the area. But you're going to get a real strong sense of learning a lot and knowing all the current events that are happening right now in this town. So they do a wonderful job. And there's always going to be different tours too. So I mentioned 4 to 5 in all the different areas. Cologne, Germany is another very special stop right here. This is a Cologne Cathedral that we're looking at right in the center of this photo, which just dominates the skyline here. If you caught that earlier in that video, they made a short comment about toasting the Cologne beer or Kolsch beer. This cathedral is just right behind it, and it's massive. The architecture is absolutely amazing. It took 632 years to build this cathedral. They started in 1248. They stopped for a period of time, but by the time they actually officially completed it, it was 632 years later. So definitely a sight to see. We dock just 8 minutes walk away from this. So just to the right side of this bridge right here, you step right off, a nice leisurely pace, and you're right in front of this cathedral. Old Town Cologne is something I would suggest that you have to make a stop at. We can't really see it here, but it's kind of the front, just off to the left of where this picture ends right here, but it's the Old Town area. So joining in to do maybe a Kolsch beer pub hop is something I think you need to do. Kolsch beer is unique to Cologne. It was they started making this beer as early as I believe it was the 600s. It wasn't until maybe about the 1200s or 1395 specifically that they started the Kolsch Beer Corporation, and they've been producing it ever since. But it's unique to the area, so it's something you have to experience. Wines, I would say, are important in a number of other locations, but definitely you got to experience the beer here. There's a Holy City walking tour, and then also guided cycling tour that you can join up on as well, or just have some free time to walk around. As we make our way further south, we're going to now pass through the Rhine Gorge, and this is probably my favorite experience of all the places we passed through on this itinerary. It's this leisurely 5-hour trip that we're making through this area where there's a lot of history tied to this area. It was a central location of the Holy Roman Empire, is very central to the 30 years war. This happens to be the Kotz Castle. I think this dates back to the early 1300s. It was actually destroyed quite heavily during the Napoleon Wars, and then they rebuilt a number of it. Right across from it, just up the river, is the Mouse Castle. So this is the Kotz Castle, Kotzenburg, and then you have the Mouse Castle, so Cats and Mouse. But you get to hear all these wonderful stories. Our cruise managers go out on board and they're talking about not just these castles, but the villages that we're passing through. Again, the history of the vineyards that we're passing by. They're serving some different wines. The next stop here is going to be Rudesheim. There's something called Rudesheimer coffee I'll share about in just a minute. They're serving that on board. So just an amazing place, especially if you really like to learn about history.
Well, that's the one place when you're going through the Rhine Gorge where you want to be on the sun deck. Get up on the sun deck, get a glass of wine, and just listen to the stories of the castles and the history and the lives of the people that you're passing through, like Richard was saying, very slowly, just taking it all in. It just, you know, pictures don't do it justice. You have to really obviously be there to enjoy it. But definitely be on the sun deck. You got to be up on the sun deck.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even depending on the weather, you know, I was there last in early November, and it was a bit cooler. My wife gets cold really easily, but she was not about to be down in the lounge. She was up there and completely bundled up, and she had her nice hot coffee with her as well too. So they make everybody very, very comfortable. Rudesheim is the next stop, and there's a few wonderful excursions that we include here. You can do the gondola ride, get a wonderful champagne tasting. There's a wine tasting excursion where we start at this wonderful 17th century vineyard. We make some hikes. You'll be getting a guide along the way. We get a new perspective looking out in the valley. You'll get a fresh wine tasting. Then you go up to another level. You get another wine tasting until you kind of get the ultimate view. There's a really wonderful old music museum. Forgive me, can't think of the name right now. But some wonderful old instruments that you get to see and get to listen to. My favorite is the Rudesheimer coffee experience, and I would relate it to, if it's not, if it's the right way to share it, kind of like an Irish coffee. So they actually use a German Osbach brandy, and they'll light it on fire as they're pouring it in for maybe a good 1.5 feet off into these specially designed mugs. They'll add some really dark, bold coffee to it, add some vanilla cream, and then some chocolate shavings in it. It warms you up. It's an amazing taste, but just being part to witness that as well in person is just a fun experience. I think it's all kind of part of what we like to enjoy when we're traveling. Another stop along the way is actually going to be into the town Ludwigshafen, and it's really going to be a docking city. You can certainly spend some time to walk around there, but we don't include anything in terms of an excursion in that port. Most of the guests are going to go and see Heidelberg, maybe a stop at the town spires. Really beautiful church to witness there. But this is one of the places where I would say if you're thinking of doing a bicycle trip, you definitely want to do it here. This is actually not located on the Rhine River. This is the Neckar River that we see off to the side here, but it's one of the most beautiful bike rides if you want to enjoy that. You see all these red roof buildings from all the red sandstone in the area. The Heidelberg Castle up to the top left here. We do something called the Philosopher's Heidelberg Trip, where you get to go up to this castle, walk around the grounds, and have this wonderful perspective and view looking down onto the city. But a great town to explore. Also there at Heidelberg Castle, if you make that trip up there, you can actually witness the world's largest wine barrel. Take a picture in front of this. It's about 7.5 meters high, about 8 meters wide. I don't recall the number of gallons that it actually holds, but it's quite a few gallons. It's not filled any longer, but it's just one of those pieces of history that you kind of want to say, I was there, and have that photo as proof. Next on the stop, we make our way down to the town of Stroudsburg, and similar to Cologne, this town has a lot to see. There's a number of little tips that I'll share. Great for shopping, probably one of the best places for shopping for ladies or gentlemen. If you're into shopping, want to pick up some great local souvenirs. This is known as the Venice of the North, at least to the local Alsatians in the area. A lot of canals, these beautiful 16th, 17th century half timber homes that we see in the picture there. Christmas markets, if you can imagine, the Christmas markets are going on at this time of year also. Another little known fact that a lot of people aren't aware of is that some centuries ago, a lot of the hospitals and hospices in the area had wine cellars where they actually produced wine, because they understood that there is, to a healthy degree, of course, an association with health and wine. So you can actually go into some of these different hospices and go down the wine cellar, purchase some wine, do a wine tasting. You can purchase bottles and take it back to the ship. It will allow you to take alcohol back to the ship that you're purchasing. There's no cork fee. A lot of ocean cruises I know won't allow that, but we do allow that on board, so you can share it with some of the other guests. Storks, this town is actually known for storks. In fact, the whole Alsace area is known for storks, just kind of the bird of the area, if you will. But if you take the cycling tour, or if you do the walking tour, it passes near Orangery Park, which is a great place to hang out, maybe do a picnic. But as you pass through there, also Orangery Park has been a protective reserve for the storks also. Not only are the storks just beautiful, but their nests are absolutely impressive. So to witness those up front is just something really to something fun to see. Requivier is the next stop on the town. If you haven't heard of Requivier or aren't aware of it, this is a town that inspired Disney's Beauty and the Beast. And as you're walking through this town, you can just picture Belle walking up the street, maybe stopping at one of the wells in the area. So I had to include this next little slide right here. It's a great little town. You're walking through these cobblestone streets. You know, you can smell the fresh baked goods. You know, they're handing out different samples. There's some wine shops in the area, some coffee shops in the area. But this is a great example of what I mentioned earlier. Not a lot to see in terms of spending the full day right here. You know, you can see the full town in just a few hours, including our excursion and some free time. So we'll stop here, enjoy it at a leisurely pace, and then push on to the next port of call, which in this case will be Basel, Switzerland, as we end our trip right here. You can spend some time in Basel on your own. It's a great town, lots to see. But the post-trip that we would include here, or the pre-trip if you decided to start in Basel, is going to include 2 nights in Lucerne and then 2 nights in Zurich with your cruise manager. So a great way to extend your trip there. But I really wanted to walk through that example again, just to give you an idea of what it really looks like to combine the land and you know, land excursion, sea excursion, and what those experiences would be like on board. So hopefully that gave you a pretty good perspective. The wine host program, just to talk a bit more about that, I mentioned that you have an American wine host. They're leading special excursions. Everything that we've included for the wine theme experience is in addition to that full experience that I just walked you through, right? So we're not going to take anything away. We're just going to add to it. We started off doing these, I'm guessing at the year, maybe 10 years ago, somewhere about there, maybe not even that long. And it was Rudy and Christina, our owners, that were on board a sailing. There happened to be a wine owner on board. Through conversation, it came up, you know, why don't we do a wine tasting? So it really kind of started off as a fluke. It was such a success that they decided to start doing these. We started off with a handful. The next several years, we've now built these up to between 65 and 70 wine-themed departures annually. So if you're interested in wine, or even if you just like the idea of that experience, they're doing wine pairings, wine tasting. You're going to learn about the histories of wine. It's a really wonderful experience. The Christmas markets are another really special one to consider. If there's one word, Donna, I think you said that you've done a Christmas market, so I'd love to hear maybe some feedback from you. I would probably be forced to use the word senses, because your senses are on overload. It's magical. I mean, there's a number of great descriptive words, but you know, you're smelling the glühwein. Glühwein is these wonderful wines, kind of traditional of the area. You can make them with a white wine or a red wine. You'll add a spice to it and a citrus. And it's just a great thing that just kind of warms you up along the way. They're not really too heavy in alcohol content. A lot of the local artisans come out, they're making their crafts, and it's normally going to be in some sort of city, you know, town square just like this, where there's going to be a church steeple nearby and these beautiful old, you know, centuries old buildings. And it's just an amazing experience. And in fact, Don, I think we've set up to talk about one of these on one of our future dates, right?
Yes, the next webinar we do is going to be on the 26th of August, and it's going to be the Christmas markets. So we're going to really get into that in depth, and it is a sensory experience. When Joanne and I were on the Rhine with AmaWaterways, Ama Prima, and with the lights and the smells of the food, then they have orchestras, they have entertainment. It's just really at night, obviously, it's just so beautiful, as you can see. And they're all different. Every little town you go to is a little bit different. And on the Rhine, you're going to have a lot of big Cologne's, a huge Christmas market with the cathedral in the background. It's just, I don't know what to tell you. You just have to see it. It just see it and smell it and just experience it. It's just so much fun. But yes, next on the 26th of August, we'll be doing at 4 o'clock. We'll be doing that one.
That's right. That's right. And one more thing that I'll mention. This really just ties to any type of travel, but I'd love for you to kind of consider and picture yourself on a river cruise. I mean, I've always loved pictures of history. I've loved geography, and for me, like seeing some of those pictures and things that maybe you saw as a kid and kind of growing up, and then there's that moment when you're in that location, and then there's that precise moment when your eyes just come upon that thing that you've only seen in storybooks prior to that. And a river cruise trip is full of moments like that too. So hopefully you'll kind of keep that in mind as you're maybe thinking about where you like to travel on a river cruise. A few different offers that we always have in place based on Don's relationship with AmaWaterways and some other affiliates. There's a number of departures where you can receive some extra value adds. In fact, one of them is an onboard credit up to $300 per booking. In addition to that, based on availability and on select dates, there may be opportunities to combine this with another promotion that we have in market. We introduced new quarterly promotions, and this one would offer you an additional $1,000 savings, some potential category upgrades, and maybe some additional onboard credits. So in some cases, these things can be combined. The other part that I'll mention, and Don, I'm sorry, I don't even think I mentioned this to you, but for anybody that were to book that might be interested in thinking ahead for next year, we understand this year's maybe out of it for most people, but even if you're thinking for next year, we'll add an additional $100 savings per person if you want to do something for next year too. So certainly reach out to Don with any interest there. The other one I wanted to mention is a Frontline Heroes promotion. This was something that we came out quite early on to recognize this frontline heroes that are dealing with all these COVID cases, the doctors and nurses, some other folks in the different professions that we've acknowledged, where one person will be able to sail free in a stateroom and only their traveling companion will have to pay. So if you think you might qualify for this, please reach out to Don. He can get you the proper form to fill out, and we can review that, hopefully get you on board.
Yep.
And then the last part to kind of round this out is to give you sort of a state of the business where we are currently with things and how we're planning for things going forward. I think I may have mentioned before that we do have a ship that's currently sailing on the Rhine. This is specifically for the German market. There's a German company called Hathaway that has chartered one of our vessels, the Ama Christina, and they've been doing for actually 5-night sailings up and down the Rhine. The responses have been amazing. So what's really great about this, one, we're the only American river cruise line that's currently operating. There's maybe about 10 other European river cruise lines that have been operating as early as June 1st. So we're out there in the mix with them. We're able to put all these things that we've been thinking about actually into practice. But I want you to feel secure that if you're really thinking about this, we have everything in place to ensure your safety. Again, we're not sailing in international waters like some of the large ocean cruise lines. We're sailing to and through these countries. So in this case for Europe, we not only have to abide to everything that the European Union is putting out for us to abide by, but if there's any countries that have any higher standards, we need to manage to that as well. There's also health instructors at every port of call that are stopping on board to make sure that things are going the way that they should be. Simple things like buffets. We did away with those early on. We're not offering those on board at all. A question that has come up that we never even thought we'd have to really address are the air conditioning units. And I mentioned before, Rudy being an architect, one thing that he set up is that every room, the lounge area, the restaurant area, all these different places have their own coiled heating and air conditioning system that basically pipes in air, if you will, in and out of each of those specific rooms. So it's not being circulated throughout the ship. A number of other measures that we take in place, upgraded hospital grade disinfectants, increasing the frequency that we're cleaning the ship. So all this to ensure not just the safety of our guests, but certainly our crew that are on board all these different sailings. Here's a look right here also, kind of what that looks like. You got the plexiglass up in a few different areas. If you had a chance to go out to a restaurant or any public areas, you know that as you're walking into the restaurant or maybe going to the restroom or leaving the restaurant, you wear your mask. But when you're sitting down, you can take it off. Obviously, you need to take it off to eat, and you're talking with some of your other friends and family. So we've set it up in the same way. So this next slide right here, we saw that earlier picture of the lounge, and you can see all the seating. We set up this nice plexiglass between each of the different lounge areas. So again, once you're seated, you can take off your mask. It doesn't feel obstructed. You can talk to the folks around you, but you feel that you're in safe quarters to do so. Let's see, there was something else that I wanted to mention. Our crew actually did their own little test, if you will, to kind of see how long are folks on average wearing their mask. And they came up with a time frame of between 22 to 25 minutes for those folks that are currently doing those 6-day, 5-night cruises. Because again, when you're walking, you wear it, you sit down, you take it off. When you're out doing the shore excursions, you're not going to be huddled in that group with other guests, you can take it off. You go to the restaurant, you're walking in there, you sit down, you can take it off too. So folks shouldn't feel that they're going to be hampered and uncomfortable the entire time. It really is not as long when you really kind of break it down to the amount of time you'll be wearing it. The last part that I wanted to share, and then hopefully if there's any questions for us, we'll address that, or if Don has anything to add. Travel Waiver Plus is something that we put out as a way for you to protect the full travel investment that you're paying to us. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's a full monetary refund. The way that it works is, let's say that you book with us, you've already made your final payment, then something comes up, or let's say in this case you just change your mind, you purchase a Travel Waiver Plus. Normally there's a 35% penalty. If you cancel for an uncovered reason, you would basically lose 35% of what you paid to us. If you purchase Travel Waiver Plus, it's a nominal fee of $175 per person. We would basically hold that portion as a future cruise credit for you. So when you're ready to book again, we would have that set up in your account, and you could apply that to your new booking. So again, you don't lose that value. Don, I think that really kind of covers the majority of all that I wanted to share. I'm not sure if there's anything you'd add or you want me to maybe expand a bit further on.
No, just on I think the Travel Waiver Plus is a excellent value. I mean, for 175, the coverage that you get, and especially in these times, I think it's a wise spend on your money. The only thing I'd like to add here at the end here, obviously, is that do we have a chat? Is that open? Is the messaging open?
Yeah, you know.
Does anybody have any questions that they would like to type in, for myself or for Richard?
I did comment that was earlier, and I apologized. But Don, I'm not sure if you had trouble seeing the video. We did have somebody share that they weren't able to see the video, so I apologize for that. Again, it will be recorded, so you'll be able to see it again. But I apologize that wasn't shown on your side. Yeah, I'm not sure if you had an issue with viewing that, Don. Also,
I saw it. I didn't have a problem with seeing it. So.
Okay.
So yes, this is being recorded, so we will be posting this up on our Facebook page, also on our YouTube, and also on our web page. So if you go to Facebook, Hathaway Vacations, you'll find our page. I think most of you are probably already on that page, and you'll see it posted there. Also, if you're looking to want to learn more about the other upcoming events, go to the Facebook page. Our events are posted there. And you can sign up or register for all the next 3 events we're having: Christmas markets, the Mekong, and Egypt, which we're really excited about talking about. And always at any time, I'm a personal travel advisor. And what the difference is in that is that when you call me up, we just have a conversation about what it is you're looking to do. We work with a very small group of clientele. We specialize in a lot of the river cruising, small ship sailings, escorted tours, but we really get to understand and know our clients. We want to build a trip that's going to be the one that you want to go on, the bucket list, the wanderlust trip. So we do take the time to really understand what it is that you're looking for. So call us and just have a conversation about what your dreams are, and that's what we're here for, is to fulfill dreams. So
that's right.
There's our information right there.
Yeah, there is one question that just came in that I'd like to address. The question is, are kids allowed on board? And we do allow kids on board. The age limit is actually 8. I will share we don't get a lot of kids on board, but it's a very family friendly atmosphere on board. I'm glad you asked the question too, because majority of our ships, again, not all of them, majority of them, a large portion, do have connecting staterooms. They'll also accommodate 3rd and 4th passengers in the stateroom. In fact, based on the setup also, and in terms of just the overall service of all the different river cruise lines, Disney, with their Adventures by Disney product, chose to charter AmaWays vessels for their Adventures by Disney product too. So it's a great family experience. Good question. Thank you. And I think that may be all that I see right now. But once again, if you have any questions, please reach out to Don. He's an expert. He'll be able to get you the right answers, or if there's anything I can help him with, he knows how to reach me. But I just like to thank you for joining us again, and wish you just all to be safe and well. And we hope to welcome you on board an AmaWaterways cruise sometime in the near future.
Yeah. Yes, thank you again for joining us, and look forward to seeing you on the rivers.
Very good. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.